Hi, this is Rudy Jones of PalmettoStateBaseball.com. Welcome to the South Carolina College Baseball Recap for Saturday, February the 21st. I know that my background still looks kind of rough. I'm working on getting it to look more professional, and I hope that you won't let it detract from the information I'm trying to share with you. But anyway, let's get on to the games that were played. Over at Doug Kingsmore Stadium, Jacob Jarrell hit his fourth home run of the season, and Clemson held on to beat Bryant by a score of 5-3. The Tigers, who are now 6-0, got off to a 5-0 lead. Bryant close to within 2 runs, but could get no closer than that. 3 Clemson pitchers struck out 12, including 6 from Mike Sharman for the Tigers. And Jaron Purify was 3 for 5 with a double, 2 stolen bases, and 2 runs scored for Clemson. Down at Joe Riley Stadium in Joe Riley Park in Charleston, Zach Hunt homered and doubled and drove in 3 runs. Just homered. He homered and drove in 3 runs as the Citadel completed a 2-game sweep of Marshall by a score of 11-6. In that game, Jared Williams had a single, 2 walks, 3 stolen bases, a run, an RBI, and 4 runs scored for the Bulldogs, who are now 3-2. In Columbia, Will Craddock led off the bottom of the first with a home run. He later added a double and drove in 4 runs as South Carolina beat Navy by a score of 8-0. Gamecocks improved to 5-2. 3 USC pitchers combined on a 3-hit shutout in that game. Also, Talmadge Leroy had 2 doubles, a walk, scored a run, and drove in 2. Over at Spartanburg, Harrison Campy's 2-out 9th inning single broke a double shutout as Wofford beat New Jersey Tech by a score of 1-0 on a walk-off win. The Terriers, who are now 5-1, got a leadoff single from Lucas Manning in the bottom of the 9th. He was sacrificed to second and then scored on Campy's hit. Alex Bouchard had 7 strikeouts, and Blaine Newman, who got the win, had 5 for the Terriers. Also in that game, Logan Tribble was 2 for 3 with a walk. Over in Rock Hill, Winthrop got its offense going again. They scored 11 runs in the first inning and cruised to a 19-4 win over Morehead State to clinch the series win in that game. Luke Earnhardt struck out 11 in 5 2/3 innings for the Eagles, while Corey Wooters was 3 for 6 with a run scored and 3 RBIs. Winthrop improved to 4-2. Blake Guerin scored all 3 runs for South Alabama, or drove in all 3 runs, for South Alabama down at Mount Pleasant, as the Jaguars clinched a series win over College of Charleston by a score of 3-1. The Cougars were held to 3 singles. One of those was by Peyton Frainer, who drove in the only Cougars run. The College fell to 2-5. In Spartanburg, also, Jake Gauthier single, doubled, and homer to drive in 4 runs, and Valparaiso beat USC Upstate by a score of 10-5 in the one Spartanburg Inc. Classic. The Spartans fell to 3-4 on the season. Henry Senior was 2 for 5 with 3 RBI for Upstate. In Clinton, Presbyterian batter struck out 13 times and fell to Northern Illinois 3-1, also in the one Spartanburg Inc. Classic. The Blue Hose fell to 2-5 in that game. Amon Dewberry has been the bright spot for PC on offense so far this year. He was 2 for 4 on Saturday with a stolen base. Charleston Southern had a 3-0 lead over Elon in the 5th inning when rain forced a halt to the game. They will resume that game Sunday, prior to the regular scheduled game. Charleston Southern, as I mentioned yesterday, is off to its best start since 1977. Also on Saturday, Coastal Carolina's game against Illinois was canceled because of rain. The Chanticleers will play 2 on Sunday. In Conference Carolinas, Bennett Romer struck out 10 and allowed 3 hits in 6 shutout innings in Game 1, and Lane Mulcahy homered in both games as North Greenville swept Erskine by scores of 7-3 and 12-1. The games are supposed to have been played at Erskine at Due West, but because of field conditions, they moved it over to Tigerville. The Flying Fleet did get to be the home team as far as batting last, but they could not slow down North Greenville. The Trailblazers improved to 13-1 overall, 5-1 in Conference Carolinas. Erskine fell to 4-11 and 3-13. In Game 1 for the Trailblazers, Thomas Powell was 3 for 4 with a double, a run scored, and 2 RBI. And in Game 2, Josh Fouts singled and homered and scored 3 times for North Greenville. In Florence, Charlie Bussey III's RBI single kept a 3-run sixth inning to put Francis Marion up, and the Patriots held on for a 6-5 win over Shorter to complete a series sweep and also extend their winning streak to 11 games. The Patriots are now 13-1 overall, 6-0 in the conference. Shorter fell to 6-6 and 0-6. In that game, Will Durrell was 3 for 5 with a run scored. Southern Wesleyan took a series win over King with an 11-5 win over at Central. The Warriors have scored in double figures 4 times in their last 5 games. They're now 5-9 overall, 2-4 in the conference. King fell to 4-9 and 2-4. For Southern Wesleyan, Luke Taylor was 3 for 4 with 2 doubles, a run scored, and 4 RBI. In the Peach Belt Conference, Zach Cowart singled and homered. He drove in 2 runs, and Lander evened its series at North Georgia with a 4-1 win. In that game, Joshua Sanchez pitched 3 2/3 shutout innings, struck out 2 to get the save. The Bearcats improved to 93 overall, 3-2 in the conference. North Georgia fell to 11-3 and suffered its first Peach Belt Conference loss in 5 games. Down in Beaufort, Caleb Jatko allowed 1 earned run and struck out 8 in a complete game as Augusta clinched a series win over USC Beaufort by a score of 7-3. The Jaguars are 95 and 5-0 in the conference. USC Beaufort fell to 3-8 and 0-5. In that game, Matt Cromer had a double, a walk, a run scored, and an RBI for Beaufort. Middle Georgia and USC Aiken were halted because of rainy weather. Middle Georgia had an 11-6 lead in the 8th inning when play was halted. They'll resume that game on Sunday prior to the completion of the series with a single game. That Middle Georgia USC Aiken game was in the 8th inning, by the way, top of the 8th. Also, Jax Yochtheimer had 3 hits as Columbus State run-ruled Claflin 11-0 in 7 innings. Both teams are now 3-7 overall. Columbus State improved to 2-2 in the Peach Belt. Claflin fell to 0-4. In the South Atlantic Conference, Braden Harrison's 3-run homer kept a 5-run 7th inning in Game 1, and Anderson held off a Tusculum rally late in the game for a 7-5 win in Game 1 of their doubleheader. In Game 2, Tusculum scored all its runs in the first 5 innings, and beat the Trojans 7-3 to gain the single game 1 out of 3 games in the doubleheader. Anderson's now 10-4 overall, 2-4 in the conference, and Tusculum is 5-9 and 1-5. For Anderson, Luke Godwin got the win in Game 1. He pitched 4 shutout innings, allowed 2 hits, struck out 6. And in Game 2, Riley Matthews was 2 for 4, drove in a run, and scored a run. Down at Newberry at Smith Road Complex, Virginia Wise scored 5 runs in the first 2 innings and held off Newberry by a score of 7-6 to snap the Wolves' 6-game winning streak. Virginia Wise improved to 5-4 overall, 3-3 in the SAC. Newberry fell to 95 and 5-1. In that game, Luke Compton was 4 for 5 with a homer, a double, 3 runs scored, and 4 RBI for the Wolves, who had the potential tying run on base in the 9th inning but could not get it across. In junior college play, Tristan Strickland gave Florence Darlington the Tech the lead with a home run in the 7th inning of Game 1, and the Stingers held on to beat Gaston College by a score of 5-2 in Game 1 of their doubleheader. But in the second game, Gaston College won by a score of 4-3 to take the series 2-1. That was first weekend of region play for both schools. FD Tech fell to 13-5 and 1-2. Gaston College is now 17-1 and 2-1. For the Stingers, Jake Zahner had a single and homer in Game 1, and Gabe Harold had 2 hits in Game 2. Over at Lancaster, USC Salkehatchie scored all 7 of its runs in the 5th inning of Game 1 and held off USC Lancaster 7-5 to snap a 6-game winning streak by the Lancers. But in Game 2, USC Lancaster had a pair of 5-run innings and beat Salkehatchie by a score of 12-3 to even that series going into Sunday's finale. Salkehatchie is now 3-14 overall, 1-1 in the conference or in the region. USC Lancaster is 8-6 and 1-1. Up in Greensboro, Cole Price and Trevor Myers hit back-to-back home runs to tie the score in the 6th inning of Game 1, and Guilford added another run later in the inning to beat North Greenville by a score of 4-3 in the opener of a doubleheader. In Game 2, the Quakers had a 3-run third and held on to beat Bob Jones by a score of 5-4. Bob Jones fell to 3-6 with the doubleheader sweep. Tillman Padgett went 5 strong innings in Game 1 for the Bruins. He allowed 5 hits and 1 run. And in Game 2, Henry Rumble had a single, a walk, a run scored, and an RBI. Elsewhere, in the Swig Swine Classic, George Mason beat Ball State 6-1. Seton Hall beat Merrimack 11-10 in a game that went long and also had some rain delays. And a Ball State-Seton Hall matchup was canceled. Virginia Commonwealth beat Illinois 3-2 at the Baseball at the Beach event before the Illinois Coastal game got canceled. And the Army Air Force game is still going on as we speak. I picked Charlie Busted III of Francis Marion as my player of the day. He has hit safely in 10 of his last 12 games. He's hitting .536 for the season. And as I say, he had the key hit to drive, put the Patriots ahead in their win to go up to an 11-game winning streak. Well, how about the schedule for Sunday? Let's take a look. Well, I mentioned that Elon and Charleston are going to be, Charleston Southern will complete their series with the resumption of that suspended game. Then we'll play a regular scheduled game at noon. Army is at the Citadel at 1 o'clock. Army and the Citadel have only met one time before, but the Citadel always loves to compete against the other service schools. I imagine that Russell Triplett, the coach for the Bulldogs, will have them ready for that game. Elsewhere, Augusta goes for a series sweep at USC Buford at 1. Bryan is at Clemson at 1 as the Tigers try to remain unbeaten. Claflin and Columbus State play a doubleheader at 1 in a series that was pushed back by a day because of the rainy weather. Lane and Benedict are going to be playing a single game at 1. They were originally supposed to play a doubleheader on Saturday. They've now moved that game to a Monday in Columbia. So if you're looking for a matinee for baseball in Columbia on Monday, you got it up at Benedict. Morehead State is at Winthrop at 1 o'clock as the Eagles go for a sweep. South Alabama is at College of Charleston at 1 as the Cougars try to avoid being swept. USC Aiken and Middle Georgia complete their Saturday game, then play another game at 1 o'clock. USC Salcahatchee and USC Lancaster play at 1 at Doomsday Corner in Lancaster. Wingate is at Coker for a doubleheader at 1 o'clock. The teams played a game Friday night. Wingate won that game. They took Saturday off over the weather concerns, and they're now playing a doubleheader at 1 at Hartsville. Lander is at North Georgia in the rubber game of that series at 2 o'clock. In baseball at the beach, Illinois is supposed to be, will play Coastal Carolina at 11 o'clock. Then the Chanticleers turn around and play VCU at 4. So it's a split doubleheader for Coastal. And I'm sure at some point they'll try to make up the game that got canceled on Saturday to add another game. Down at the Salute the Troops Classic at Founders Park, Marshall will play Navy at 11 o'clock. That game, Marshall moves up from the Citadel to take Army's place so Army can play at the Citadel. Again, Marshall Navy at 11, and Air Force plays South Carolina at 4 o'clock. In the one Spartanburg Incorporated Classic, New Jersey Tech is at USC Upstate at 11, Valparaiso is at Presbyterian at noon, and Northern Illinois plays at Wofford at 1 o'clock. Well, that's the Saturday schedule and the Saturday scoreboard and the Sunday schedule. You can always keep up to date with things by following my X account, which is at Palmetto Base. And then you can also follow PalmettoStateBaseball.com for scores, schedules, updates, boxes, etc., etc. This year I've started a Facebook group, Palmetto State Baseball Group, to try to get more interaction between fans of college baseball in the state. Check it out. But for right now, that's all I've got going on. I hope you have a great rest of your Saturday. And if you get a chance, go to church on Sunday. This is Rudy Jones of PalmettoStateBaseball.com saying, good night, Jesus loves you.